Hey everyone, and welcome to India at 100. This is the podcast where we dive into everything that's shaping the future of our incredible country. I am Shriparna, and today we are talking about three game changers: youth empowerment, electoral literacy, and India's evolving geopolitical landscape. A demographic dividend. But are we really tapping into it? Ishan, do you think we're doing enough for young people?
That's a good question, Shriparna. I feel like we have come a long way, but there's still a lot more to be done. We have initiatives like Skill India, Startup India, and the National Youth Policy. Although they look great on paper, but are they truly benefiting the common people? What's your take on that?
That's where I get conflicted. Honestly, we have seen some impact, especially in urban areas, but rural India still feels a little left behind. Implementation is often a problem. What's the point of having a brilliant policy if they don't reach those who need them the most?
Exactly, and the digital divide is another huge issue. How can we expect the rural youths to feel empowered when a reliable internet is still out of access for so many? Programs like Digital India are still trying to bridge this gap.
True, but the challenge remains. Let's look at the national education policy. It aims to focus on critical thinking, civic responsibilities, and vocational training, important pillars for youth empowerment. But here's a question for both of you. Do you think today's youth are even interested in these opportunities?
Good one. I think it's a mixed bag. While some are super driven, ready to seize every opportunity, others are simply bogged down by societal pressures or lack of awareness.
I agree with Shaunak, but it's not just about awareness, it's also about engagement. It's about how we present these opportunities. And talking about engagement, that brings us to electoral literacy. I mean, if we can't even get our young people to go and vote, how can we expect them to run the country one day?
Do you think we should be working on making our youth feel like their vote actually counts?
Absolutely. Programs like Sweep are great. But the question is, are we making them engaging enough? I mean, by gamifying the electoral process or even including topics of electoral awareness into school curriculums could benefit a lot. But then there's always this one big myth that one vote doesn't matter.
And that's a huge misconception, right? How do we change that mindset?
It's frustrating because, yes, one vote can absolutely make a difference. But the bigger problem here, as Ishan pointed out, is building trust in the system. Technology can play a huge role here. For example, blockchain can be used to make voting a tamper proof and transparent process. But that would take time, wouldn't it?
Right, but I do think technology can play a massive role in making the process more accessible and secure. Let's talk about something equally critical: India's foreign policy, especially our relationship with China. Ishan, this is a sensitive and important topic. How do you see India China relations evolving in the coming years?
Oh, now you see, that's a loaded question. India and China have a long and complex history: border disputes, economic competition, strategic rivalry. We have seen recent skirmishes in the areas of Ladakh, and the issues in Arunachal Pradesh haven't helped the situation. So it's a very delicate dynamic. But we are in no position to ignore China. But it's also clear that the relationship is very fragile.
Absolutely. The line of actual control has been a flashpoint for years. Do you see the situation improving, or are we heading towards more tensions?
Honestly, Shriparna, it's very tough to say. You see, both countries have nuclear capabilities, so an all out war would be catastrophic. But the risk for localized conflicts and even cyber warfare are very real, and India needs to be prepared for them.
And there's also an economic angle to consider. China is a huge trade partner. But with initiatives like Atmanirbhar Bharat, India is pushing towards greater self reliance. How do you think we'll balance these two competing interests?
Looking at the broader picture, do you think India's increased focus on strengthening ties with neighboring countries is partly a response to China's growing influence?
Definitely, China's Belt and Road Initiative has expanded its footprint across Asia and beyond, and India's counter response has been by Project Mosam and Project Sagar, focusing on regional connectivity, economic cooperation, and security. Because it's not just about competing with China, it's also about building a sustainable model for growth and development for the region.
That's right. And even beyond China, India's foreign policy needs to be more proactive. The world is changing rapidly, and India needs to strengthen its defense, diplomacy, and technological.
Before we wrap up, let's do a quick rapid fire takeaway. One liner on youth empowerment.
Equip the youth, and they'll lead the nation.
Ishan,
Engage the youth and they'll transform the nation.
what about electoral literacy?
Your vote is your superpower. Use it wisely.
Love it. And India China relations, Ishan.
Balance strength with diplomacy.
Perfect. All right, folks, that's a wrap for today's episode at India at 100. We hope this conversation got you thinking, questioning, and maybe even debating with your friends. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.